Hi, you are on the Spiritual Power Conference call. On this call, we will dive deep within and tap into the divine creative power to find the answers we seek in life and manifest the good we desire. Right now, all callers are on mute for the first few minutes until we get to the discussion portion of the call. This is Reverend Benjamin Burchell speaking, the founding minister of Cathedral of Light New Thought Spiritual Center in Aiken, South Carolina. I host these calls periodically to connect with others of like mind and provide an atmosphere in which people's lives can be touched in a positive way. Diving into these calls is sort of like attending services of the Church of Infinite Possibilities without having to leave your home. This call is being recorded and will be made available for those who weren't available to call in. A link to the recording will be placed on the Inspiration Stream page of our website. Let's begin with our meditative reading. Today's reading is from Chapter 1 of Florence Shin's book called Your Word is Your Wand. Man's word is his wand, filled with magic and power. Jesus Christ emphasized the power of the word by saying, "By these words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned." Death and life are in the power of the tongue. So man has power to change an unhappy condition by waving over it the wand of his word. In the place of sorrow appears joy. In the place of sickness appears health. In the place of lack appears plenty. For example, a woman came for a treatment for prosperity. She possessed just $2 in the world. I said, "We bless the $2 and know that you have the magic purse of the Spirit. It can never be depleted. As money goes out, immediately money comes in. Under grace in perfect ways. I see it always crammed, jammed with money. Yellow bills, green bills, pink checks, blue checks, white checks, gold, silver, and currency. I see it bulging with abundance." She replied, "I feel my bag heavy with money," and was so filled with faith that she gave me one of the dollars she had as a love offering. I did not dare refuse it and see lack for her, as it was important that I hold the picture of plenty. Shortly afterwards, she was made a gift of $6,000. Fearless faith and the spoken word brought it to pass. The affirmation of the magic purse is very powerful, as it brings a vivid picture to the mind. It is impossible not to see your purse or wallet filled with money when using the words crammed, jammed. The imaging faculty is the creative faculty, and it is important to choose words which bring a flash of the fulfillment of the demand. Never force a picture by visualizing. Let the divine idea flash into your conscious mind. Then the student is working according to the divine design. Okay, I invite you to go within with me now for a moment of affirmative prayer. And just allow yourself to relax into your seat and let go of any bodily tension that you may be feeling. And take a deep breath with me. Hold it, and then let it go. And take another deep breath with me, and let it go. I'd like to begin with my breath as an example of the abundance in which we live. I never once think about having to take in all the air that I'll ever need for fear that none may be left over. I'm surrounded by an ocean of air that never runs out. Likewise, I know that I am surrounded by an abundance of all good things. I may simply make use of it in every moment, knowing that it is always there, ready to supply me with everything that I need and everything that I truly desire. It is simply the nature of life that I live, move, and have my being in this ocean of abundance that is always giving to me and available to me at every moment. And in this awareness, I declare this moment together holy and special. All the right ideas, the perfect inspiration for this moment comes forward now. And I simply relax into this knowing, relax into this givingness of life. And I say thank you. And so it is. All right, so those of you who aren't familiar with affirmative prayer, also called spiritual mind treatment, as you could hear, it is a little different from the kind of prayer most people grew up with. In affirmative prayer, we don't ask God for anything or tell God our problems. Instead, we begin with the knowledge that God is the power in back of everything. It is expressing itself as all things, including you. It isn't out there somewhere, but is within you. It is the I am of your consciousness. In affirmative prayer, we are aligning our minds, our thoughts, and our beliefs with the ever-present good that is God. By doing so, we are changed and are guided to the right and perfect actions, and the world around us changes in response. Through the lives we live out of the consciousness evoked by affirmative prayer, all that we need and truly want materializes. So let's move into our topic. Our topic today is the theme of the month for Cathedral of Light. It is a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. The topic is actually a phrase that comes from the money multiplier affirmation, which we'll do later in this call. This money multiplier affirmation was written by Reverend Ike, who died just a few years ago. And of late, I've really taken a liking to videos of Reverend Ike on YouTube, which you can find many of. He was a prosperity minister that was before all the prosperity ministers that we see in television and in the popular Christian religious world today. And he was a powerhouse for teaching people about the God within and how to tap into that divine principle that we are. And we'll go over that money multiplier affirmation later and break it down a little bit. But before we do, let's have a bit of discussion. There's a few ideas I'd like to share and have us discuss and see what comes forward. The first, which comes from Reverend Ike, is he taught that there is a word to never use regarding money, and that is the word spend. Now, why would we not want to use the word spend? Well, when you think about the word spend, what does it really mean? When we spend something, when something is spent, that means it is wasted. It is gone. It is used up. And that is not the consciousness in which we want to deal with money. So what should we say instead of spend? A better word to use would be to use. We use money. Whenever we are using money to obtain, whether it's groceries or electricity or cars or houses, the money is not used up or gone. The money is put into circulation. That's another great word to use, circulate. I circulate my money. I circulate my money. That gives us the image and the idea that money, when we use it, isn't wasted or spent or used up, but that we're putting it out into circulation and it comes back to us. And that is the actual reality of money. This is why we call it currency. It is a currency. It is a flow. So we want to use and circulate our money instead of spending it. The second idea is connected to the idea of circulation. When we circulate money, it comes back to us. And the more we have of money, the more money we can use. And the more money that we can use, the more we can be of benefit to other people. You see, of course, as we circulate money, every time we spend, as we would say in the old consciousness, when you use $1, you are actually benefiting someone else's life. Every dollar that you use in a store is going into circulation for the employee that works for the company, for the investors of the company, the owner of the company, and they then in turn use that money that you've given them to also do the same thing, to buy other goods and services. And it continues to go around and round and round, starting from the bank to perhaps a borrower who comes in to borrow the money to, let's say, buy a car. Then the salesperson and people that work for that company will take the money that you've used to buy the car and perhaps buy groceries, and it continues to go around and round and round. Now imagine no money. Then few benefits do we have in society. And there are many people in the spiritual world who would say that money is a bad thing, it's an evil thing or a filthy thing. Yet all of us go to work for money because we live in a world where money facilitates the circulation of goods and services. And whereas one time people may have used spices or rocks or various objects to barter and trade things, today we have this thing called money, which when you really look at it isn't a thing. The piece of paper that you may have isn't really money. It's just a note that represents money. Money is simply an idea. And the more that we spiritualize the idea in society, make it something invisible, you notice the larger economies grow. So now without this idea of money being attached to a thing like gold or silver, it's really just an idea. And today with our technology, money is simply numbers in a computer. It is liberated from the physical attachment and is made more available to more people. And so by us understanding money as a non-physical energy that we put into circulation, and that the more of it we have, the more we can use and the more we can benefit other people. The flip side of that is the less you have, the less you can use, and the less you can benefit other people. I recently read a story about an actor who was walking down the street of New York City and came upon a homeless person, and that homeless person didn't know who he was. And the actor stopped and asked him why he was homeless. And it turned out the man was homeless because he had been in an accident with his family in a car and had lost his entire family in one fell swoop. And he was the only person that survived. And his medical bills bankrupted him. He lost his home and was not able to work and therefore lived on the street. So this actor felt moved to help this man. Here was someone who was not on the street because he had made bad choices, but was on the street because something had happened to him, and he felt that he wanted to do something to help this man. So what did he do? He put him up in one of his houses and sent him to school. And today this once homeless man is now a doctor helping to save other people's lives. Now, could this actor have done that if he had no money? No. So for those of us who live spiritually and who value helping others, the more money we have, the more we can actually help others. So we must embrace the idea that money is a spiritual substance that gives us the ability to not only meet our own needs, but to do more good in the world in the ways that we would like. So money isn't something that we need to shy away from accumulating. Money is something that we can accumulate for good purposes. The third idea to sort of play with today is in an affirmation called, I love to pay my bills. I love to pay my bills. Now just let that sort of sink in. And when you hear that, what do you feel? I love to pay my bills. Do you really love to pay your bills? And why don't you? I was certainly one of those people that hated to pay bills. Every time it was time to pay the rent or electricity, I'd always get this sort of pain, because now this means that whether it's $100 or whatever it is going out of my pocket to enrich someone else. And I felt very bad about that. Today, my reality is very different. I do love to pay my bills. Why is that? Because by me using my money to pay my bills, what I'm actually doing is giving of appreciation to those companies that are entrusting me with their goods and services that make my life more comfortable. So in the case of, for instance, my power bill, I love to pay my power bill because that enables me to plug my phone in, charge my phone up, and to communicate with people that I want, to get on the Internet and have great experiences online, to have light so that I'm not in the dark. I can turn on my air conditioner, and on days like today when it's hot and the temperature's going higher, I can be more comfortable at home. So by me paying my bills, it represents that I have more opportunities to live a comfortable, more convenient life. It's a great thing to pay my bills. This last concept to consider is the idea of deserving. And as we discuss this is often one that takes deep digging within. Deserving. People feel they don't deserve money. But what I like to tell people is that deserving has nothing to do with it. Last year, as I was coaching a client who was unemployed and afraid of becoming homeless soon, we started to discuss different ways the universe could provide for her needs, different ways that money could come into her life. And I suggested that perhaps there are people in the world who would be willing to help her, and asked if there was anyone if she could call right now and ask for help that would give her help. And she said there was. That would be her sister. And I said, so have you called her and told her you need help and asked for some help? And she said, no, well, I wouldn't want to do that because I don't want to take advantage. And I said, well, what do you mean take advantage? Would your sister not love to help you? Well, yes, she would, and she has, helped me in the past. But that's not the way that I want to get money. And I said, really? You've asked the universe for money, and the universe is ready to provide it through someone who cares about you to help you. So are you saying, please give me money, but not that way? And she sort of laughed. I said, so why wouldn't you want to receive support from your sister? And she said, well, it's because I don't want a handout. I would rather work for it. And I said, so in other words, you don't deserve money unless you work for it? Since when do you have to work for money to deserve it? And I asked her, does a baby deserve to be fed or clothed, or cleaned after it goes to the bathroom on itself? And, of course, no one would suggest that a baby should not get those things. Why? Because this is simply the nature of the baby, to be hungry and to, need care. And the parents and anyone else looking simply want to help. And we never even question whether or not the baby deserves to be fed. We simply give freely to the child. So since when did we grow up and embrace the idea that everything we need can only come to us through deserving it? If you're out in, for instance, when I was a kid, I was a Boy Scout and used to go to a Boy Scout summer camp in Pennsylvania called Treasure Island Scout Reservation. And this island is in the middle of the Delaware River. And on the island, there were lots and lots of blackberry bushes. So as we would go out hiking, we passed these blackberry bushes, and many times we'd stop and begin to pick and eat blackberries. Now, these blackberries were simply there for the taking. Did we deserve to pick blackberries? Well, deserving it had nothing to do with it. They were freely given by nature. We were there, and we were well capable of reaching forward with our hands and picking berries and putting them in our mouth. It didn't matter whether we deserved the berries or not. They were simply there by the nature of the place where we were. But somehow, as adults, we begin to embrace the idea that we must deserve everything. And we feel undeserving if we haven't worked for it, especially if we haven't worked hard for it, because somehow we've been taught that hard work is necessary in order for us to deserve the things that we get. I'd like to say that deserving really has nothing to do with it. We can have every need met and every desire met simply by what is called right of consciousness. Because everything that comes to us comes as a response to the vibration that we are emitting. Whatever we want can come to us simply because we have chosen it. Now, that may come in many ways. Indeed, it could come by us working for it. Money can come in other ways as well. It can be given to us. It can be gifted to us. You can find money on the street. You can win money in a contest or a lottery or many other ways. There are many, many, many ways to have money and material wants, material things to come into our lives. And they can come when there are things that we need to do to get money. They can be enjoyable things that brings an abundance of money. And we don't have to turn any money away because we feel we don't deserve it. So these are 4 ideas that we can take into our discussion now. Let me just repeat them quickly. The first is never spend money. Never use that word. We use money and we circulate money. 2, the more money we have means the more money we can use and the more money we can benefit the world and other people's lives with. 3, the idea of loving to pay our bills or deserving has nothing to do with it. We can have simply by right of consciousness. So I'm going to unmute everyone on the call so that we can discuss these ideas a bit. After the discussion, we'll move on into affirmation practice, and then we'll close with an affirmative prayer. So let me go to the right screen here so that I can unmute everyone's. All right. Can someone say something so I can make sure that I've done that correctly?
Hello. Something.
Awesome. There you are. It looks like there's 4 of us on the call. Could everyone just sort of go around and say your name and what city you're in?
My name is Marina Spey, and I'm in the city of Dana Point.
Awesome. I used to work down in San Clemente.
Oh, I love San Clemente.
Who else is there?
My name is Lorraine, and I am from Traverse City, Michigan.
Traverse City. Where's Traverse City?
It's in Michigan, up north.
Okay.
Interlaken and Beulah and Frankfurt. It's below the Upper Peninsula, Michigan.
Okay, great. Welcome.
It's a tourist there.
The last person on the line.
I'm Karen, and I'm in Grovetown, Georgia.
Hi, Karen. How are you?
Hi, Reverend Ben. Thank you. Good to be here. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, so good to hear you.
Hello.
Okay, so there's Lorraine, Karen, and I'm sorry, what was your name in Dana Point again?
Marinus.
Marinus.
Yes, it's not an easy one, I know.
Is that spelled like Marinas?
Like Mirinos, yes. Mirinus.
Okay, great. Marinus. Just writing everyone's names down so that I can remember them. Awesome. So, how did those 4 ideas hit you? Anyone can start. Anything that came up for you?
Well,
go with it.
For me, it was the deserving part. I'm so happy to have chimed in, when you were talking about, just like you wouldn't ask a baby if they deserve to be changed or fed. And I've had issues with, I'm in business for myself and I have wealthy clients, and, a lot of times they'll want to pay me in advance for something. But then, I had the attitude of, well, if they pay me in advance, then they're going to ask me to do more, and I owe them, I'm beholden to them, and they're going to manipulate my time. And that's wrong thinking. I should actually accept the abundance that's coming in because I've asked for it, I've been praying for it, and a lot of times things are right in front of our face or knocking right at our door, waiting to be received, and we somehow reject it based on some preconceived notion that it has to come in a particular format. So it just goes to show you that we have been trained out of the proper way to receive, and it's our responsibility to be able to identify that way of thinking that's blocking us, and to correct it the best that we can so that we can recognize those opportunities and embrace them.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you want to receive your money sooner than later? I mean, really, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I agree.
For a month and you want to give it to me now? Sure.
Well, talking about abundance, I know a lot of the reasons why people don't want to go to somebody else and ask them money because they are afraid they're going to be taken away from. They're going to be taking money away from somebody else, causing them lack. Maybe that will make them resentful toward you. And in the universe, there really is no lack. It's just abundance. So we have to get over that mindset that we are going to be taking from the other person.
Exactly.
I think that's,
and one of the ideas that helps, that has helped me with that is embracing the truth that, number one, it's up to each person to decide for themselves how they feel about helping. So one person may feel if they give someone $10 to buy lunch that they're not being deprived. They're just giving because they see a need and they are happy to give to help the person. Another person might feel more stingy and, oh my God, if I give this person $10, then that'll be $10 I won't have anymore. And they may give it anyway out of a feeling of obligation, but still feel bad about it. Now, who's making the decision about how to feel about giving the money? The person giving the money. And what do you have to do with that? Absolutely nothing.
Just be on the receiving end and happy.
Yeah, you cannot control what's going on in someone else's mind. Actually, when you are even worried about how that other person is going to feel about helping you, you're no longer in your own business. You're in their business. Byron Katie, if you've ever heard of her, she's the creator of The Work. She says there's three kinds of business in the world. There's my business, there's your business, and there's God's business. My business is what is going on in my own mind and what I do. Your business is what's going on in your mind. God's business is the things that no one controls. So when I'm worried about what's going on in someone else's mind when they give money, I am no longer in my business. I'm in their business. And it is it's a source of unhappiness. So let's say you are being given $10 for lunch, let's say, because you don't have money and you're hungry. And that person doesn't feel good about giving you the $10, but they give it to you. Have you not still received the $10 and the benefit of the $10? Right, you have.
Mm-hmm.
And it has nothing to do with how that person feels.
Yeah.
And that's sometimes hard for people to get because they want to be concerned about how the other person feels and what the other person is thinking. And I ask people all the time, can you even know what the other person thinks and feels? No. You can only assume by what you think their body language may be saying. You can only assume what they even say to you is true. Because, of course, people do lie. Sometimes people will give and, say that they're giving willingly and freely and they feel good about it when, in fact, they don't. Or it could be the other way around. You don't know because you don't have access to another person's consciousness. So why be concerned about it at all? If you've asked for help and help comes, it's up to you to receive it graciously, regardless of what's going on in the other person's mind. Simply receive.
Right.
Maybe it's a person that hates you, but they're willing to give to you out of the feeling of obligation. Does it actually matter? No. When we were walking around Treasure Island picking those berries, we didn't think, oh, does the berry bush want us to eat its fruit? No, we just ate the fruit and enjoyed it.
Yes,
we are the same with money.
Definitely learning.
Yeah. And, sometimes people who don't really get it might say, well, you're just selfish. You're only thinking about yourself. And I go, yeah. Yeah. And the truth is that's what we all do. Most of us just don't want to admit it.
Well, it's selfish for them to say, well, I want you to do this because of me.
Right.
So isn't that also selfish if you're saying, I don't want you to do this because that's going to make me unhappy? So.
Yeah. And when you really think about those words, selfishness is a holy thing. When we are truly selfish and self-centered, we cannot hurt another human being. Mm-hmm. Because our self is a divine reality. Our self is what some call God, our inner being, only wants the good. So if we truly are selfish and thinking of our own true desires, there's nothing in our real desires that is of harm to anyone.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And when we meet our own needs and stay in our own business, we're more available to other people. So it's when we are not having our needs met that often we strike out and do things that may be of harm to other people. As they say, hurt people hurt people. Yeah. When your needs are unmet, the old phrase, misery loves company?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, like attracts like. You know, when we are hurt, we are moved to spread that hurt around. When we are whole and know that we are whole and complete, that's what we also want to spread around. So being selfish and making our decisions based on what we truly want is the thing to do. There's nothing in that is of harm to anyone. So we can let go of this idea that having money is selfish or seeking money is selfish or receiving it is selfish. It absolutely is. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what money is for. It's there to meet our needs. And we can do that, you know, knowing that as we have money, the more we have, the more we can use. I mean, that's what we want money for anyway, right, is to use it.
Yes, it represents freedom.
You're benefiting someone else.
Reverend Ben, can I ask a question, Karen?
Absolutely.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much. Wonderful. I've taken notes. This is a very different way of looking at things. I do pay the bills in my house, and I can assure you I've never affirmed I love to pay my bills, so this is going to be new. I pay the bills because my husband hates to pay the bills, but I just do it, you know what I mean? So now this is just a totally, I mean, to actually be the doer, but to love paying the bills, that's I'm going to definitely infuse the universe with that. But my question is more, I believe that God, not only is God my supply, God is supply, and it will always be there. I don't know how it's going to always be there, but I just trust that it will be there. My husband, on the other hand, sees a dwindling savings account, okay? We're both unemployed right now. So I choose to see and thank God that we have that, okay, and trust that when it's gone, something else will come, okay? But I don't know how to fight a lack mentality. And I know by the very nature of saying that I'm fighting it, then I'm doomed. So can you help, please?
Well, you aren't doomed, but I think you're catching your own answer there. You know, we know that life is reflective. You know,
right.
Life, it simply gives us back what we are, what we're being. The mistake we make is that a lot of us in this way of thinking, you know, start out thinking that we get what we want or what we think. You don't get what you want and you don't get what you think. And that's not how it works. This is a universe based on attraction in response to your vibration. And when we're talking about vibration, we're really talking about your emotional vibration. And I think it's very important to understand what we're talking about when we talk about vibration. Another person that I was counseling with last year, we sat in the park and I just started out with the question, so what is it that you need to do to have what you want in your life? And she said, well, I need to change my vibration. And I asked her, the vibration of what? And she had no answer. And I've asked a lot of people the same question. And they almost always have no answer because it's just something that they've heard and that we repeat, but that we really don't understand. If we need to change our vibration, that means something is vibrating. And what does vibrate mean anyway? Anybody know?
Energy?
Say again?
Is it energy? It's like emoting some type of energy or magnetic attraction?
Frequency. Like a frequency.
Yeah.
Okay. It's in the neighborhood. But what does it mean to vibrate?
I mean, is it more feeling?
It does have to do with feeling. The word vibrate means to move back and forth, to wave. So let's say the wind is blowing and you see a tree limb, you know, waving in the wind. The tree limb is vibrating. It's moving back and forth. You know, when you see waves of water, the water is moving back and forward, whether the motion is up and down or literally back and forward towards you and away from you. It's moving in a direction backwards, forward, upwards, and downward. It means to move. So what is it that is vibrating? And you said the answer. It's our emotions. But what are our emotions moving between? Because when you look at something that's vibrating, it's like moving between some invisible boundaries. You know, the tree limb, you know, maybe it moves, 6 inches this direction and 6 inches back the other direction. There's sort of boundaries that they move between based on the properties of the wood and the leaves of itself. So what is it that our emotions are vibrating between? What are the boundaries of our emotions?
Space. I don't know.
No. What creates our emotions? Where do they come from?
Inside, our inner being.
Yeah.
Our mind.
Think specific.
I give up. I don't.
This is sort of an area that I would say sort of chaps my hide, because it's hard for us to really spiritually practice when we've been given language that we don't actually understand. So if we don't know what's vibrating, how it's vibrating, how can we change it? So when we're talking about our emotions are vibrating. They're moving. They change from moment to moment, and that makes sense to everyone. 1 minute you may have one emotion, another minute we'll have another emotion, and they change in intensity. Even with one emotion at one moment may be stronger or weaker at other times. Our emotions are constantly in flux and moving. They're vibrating. What are they vibrating between? Our thoughts. Our thoughts are the boundaries of our emotions. In fact, our thoughts create our emotions. Thoughts are cause and emotions are effect. Thoughts are actually the first manifestation of thought. We are used to thinking about emotions being responses to things that are happening outside of us, but that's not actually how it works. Our emotions are responses to the thoughts that we're believing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have a thought, and when you believe that thought to be true, you have an emotion that matches that thought. Now, not every thought generates an emotion. Thoughts that you don't believe don't really generate an emotion. But thoughts that we believe generate emotion. And really all a belief is a thought that we hold to be true. It's a definition about something. And when we have these thoughts that we believe, that generates emotion. And when we have the next thought about that same thing, it generates more emotion. And you can sort of see your thoughts as the container in which your emotions are bouncing around, back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. So depending on your thoughts, let's say your thoughts are very limited, then your emotions are very limited in a certain way, and it's into a certain kind of emotion. When your thoughts are more expansive, it gives you more emotional freedom to experience greater depths of certain kinds of emotion. So when we want to change our vibration, we're talking about our emotional state. So that's what life is responding to. Life isn't responding to our words. It's not responding to the affirmations that we say or the prayers or any of that. The whole purpose of those kinds of tools is to change our emotional vibration. And life is responding to that. That's a huge one for a lot of people because we often, we're taught specific affirmations and how to say them, and sometimes we believe in them sort of as like a magic pill. If I just say this affirmation enough times, something will happen. When the reality is how it works is we say the affirmation to change what we're thinking and have a different emotional response, and that's the vibration that life then reflects back to us. So when you talk about fighting lack, what do you think the universe will reflect back to you?
Situations where you're always fighting lack.
Exactly. Is that what you want?
No, I don't think that's what anybody wants.
Right. So don't fight. There's a saying that says what you resist persists.
Mm.
That's because when we are looking at something that we then have a thought about and an emotion comes out of that, and that emotion is a negative emotion, all that happens is we get more situations to generate that same emotion over and over and over again. It's just a mirror. So the key is not fighting what you don't want, but identifying what you do want and beginning to feel that. So what is it that you do want in regard to your finances and your relationship with your husband?
Peace, harmony, abundance.
Okay, let's take that first one, peace.
Well, that's
now,
the ultimate goal.
So if you were a peaceful person in your marriage regarding money, who would you be? What kinds of choices would you make? What kind of wife would you be?
Patient.
Okay, what else?
Compassionate. Nurturing. Giving. Generous.
And just thinking about that, do you feel peaceful?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
it seems like everything would flow smoothly.
Yeah. That's how you get what you want. Catch that if you can. As I was speaking to one woman about money and what she wanted, I asked her, well, why do you want money? So, because I said, I can guarantee you that money isn't what you actually want. She kind of cocked her head and looked at me like I just fell off the moon. What do you mean? I don't want money. Of course that's what I want. I said, no, it's not. We never want a thing, a circumstance, a relationship. Those things we only want because we believe we'll feel better when we get them.
Mm-hmm.
And the feeling better is the thing that we want. It's the emotional reality. So I said, well, what is it that you really want? If you had money, what would that give you now that you don't already have? And so she began to, list off some things. Well, I could pay my bills and I could, have a home to live in and all of this stuff. And I said, okay. And having a home to live in and being able to pay your power bill and all of that, you have that. What does that give you? And we went down the rabbit hole. And she finally landed on, well, I would be at peace. And I said, isn't that what you really want?
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole reason that you want money for, is you believe you would be at peace when you have it. And so I started to ask her what I asked you. Well, if you were a person who had peace, who would you be? How would you be living? What kind of friend would you be? What kind of sister would you be? And so forth. How would you respond to things in your life? What choices would you make? And she began to cry and to describe what she imagined she would be like if she had peace. And I said, and how do you feel? Are you feeling peace right now? She said, yes. I said, that's how you create peace. All you have to do is think about it.
Yeah, you think about all the emotions.
I'll say that again.
You think about all the thoughts that would generate those emotions, and then you keep them and keep remembering all those pleasant words and get the feeling of it.
Yeah. It really is.
And then and then are you saying as we become that peaceful presence, then those around us may catch that, perhaps?
There's no may. Scratch the may out. Because have you noticed it takes two to tango?
Yeah.
And the moment you give up the fight's over.
Okay. But how do we see? My whole thing is not getting. I seem to catch on to the negative energy. It's like I feel like I'm peaceful. Every week I talk to my mother on the phone, and by the end of the conversation, I'm just like ready to come unglued. And it's just all this negativity, and I don't know how to repel it sometimes.
Well, hear the words that you're using. Now, like I said, life isn't responding to our words as if they're magical incantations. However, as Jesus said, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. In other words, the words we use are clues as to what's really in us at the subjective level, really within our subconscious mind. So we can find a lot of things out about what's really going wrong by paying attention to how we're speaking about something. So, say some of those words again that you said. When you're on the phone with your mother, and by the end of the call, you feel what?
Now I forget what I said. Usually just really weighed down and negative. By her, I feel like it's coming from her. So you're saying it's really within me.
Isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be your expectation of when you talk to your mom, you're like, you brace yourself for the negativity, so it comes.
I know that's how it used to work for me. I have had, shall we say, a love-hate, sometimes a hate-hate relationship with my mother. And sure enough, whenever I see that phone number come up on caller ID, my first expectation was, oh, God. And who would I get? Of course, I would get exactly what I expected to get out of the conversation.
Right.
Maybe I can offer you a comfort of words, because I was having an issue of financial worry. An overwhelming worry of if I was going to be able to pay my rent. And my mom, we call her the collector, because whatever money she gives to you, it comes with a good tongue lashing, and she will ride you until she gets it back, So she was the last person that I wanted to ask, but my dad is, he's normally the generous one, but she handles all the money. So I went to sleep with this worry on my head, and I kid you not, I had a dream that my mom handed me money to help cover my bills. So when I woke up, I just said thank you, and I called my mom, and I changed my expectation of what was to happen. I felt like that dream was a premonition. And I imagined her smiling and giving me the money and saying I don't have to pay it back because I know you're struggling right now, so it's okay. And that is exactly what happened, and I was floored.
Wow.
Floored. And I said, okay, so now I realize I need to change my expectation, because sometimes when we're accustomed to something, we think that that's the way it is and it's going to happen all the time. But the minute you say, you know what, that was then, this is now. Every morning that we wake up, that's a restart button, and you have an opportunity to change your reality from that moment forward. So just that slight change in thought, with regards to the relationship with my mother and being able to ask her for help and not fearing the criticism or any of that. There was a need that needed to be met. And I love my mother. I know she loves me. And I just wanted to be able to receive it in a positive way. And that's exactly what happened. And then I got so happy about that. I was like, now, if I could just attract a man in that same way, then I'm golden, So it's it is a process. Yes, because lately the guys that I've been attracted, I don't know what it is about teeth lately. It's like they're missing teeth or something like that. So I'm like, okay, I have teeth. I want him to have teeth.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Oh, that is awesome. That's awesome.
So I have a sense of humor about it, but now I'm like, okay, joke's over. Let's get what I really want in here.
Hey, true. Just being able to have fun with things is so important. So important. We take things way too seriously. Way too seriously. And it's like, come on, nobody's going to get out of life alive anyway. We all are born to die. The moment we're born to die. And we take everything seriously and miss the boat on the joy. Mm-hmm. So, having the negative expectation, there's emotion that comes with that. Mm-hmm. And we probably all are very, very familiar with how that emotion feels. For me, it was like this crawling in the pit of my stomach, mm-hmm. and that I would have literally, with the idea of talking to my mother, because in my mind at the time I saw my mother as this judgmental woman, and I used to even say, well, if she wasn't my mother, she's not the kind of person that I would even want to know. And behind all of that were replayings of all the things that I remembered if she ever said to me. But as I got older and began to learn how to question my thinking, and question whether or not the things that I remembered actually happened the way I remembered them, I began to realize, there's the thing that happened and the thing that Mother said. Then there's what I thought about it and what I made it out to. And even though she may have said something kind of slightly negative once, I remembered it for the rest of my life and built it into this huge emotional baggage. She doesn't even remember saying the thing that she said, but I remember it and hold on to it. And so when the phone rings and I realize it's Mother, all of that comes flying back into my mind. And who am I as a result of starting out with that kind of emotion? Well, I'm the kind of son who, of course, Mother is going to be judgmental about, and we're going to have this sort of interaction that doesn't feel so good to either one of us, because I'm coming to the situation with a negative emotion. But when I began to change that, and a few years ago when I reconnected with my mother, and I reconnected not because I wanted anything from her, and I'm very clear about that. I don't want anything from my mother. All I want is connection, which is really all we want with other people. Connection, to feel connected, however that looks. So now when I go into conversation with Mother, it's without the expectation of her being any different than who she is. So the same things that she might say that would have annoyed me before, today I can hear them and find humor in them and simply accept that as, well, this is her reality. This is how she sees things. She's being very generous with me. by being open and honest about how she thinks and feels about things. Isn't that what we really want? Or do we want people to be fake with us? We really want people to be genuine and honest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, part of the problem is sometimes we want to change them to be more like us, and because they're never going to be like us, then we create stress for ourselves. But when we get rid of that expectation, then we can have an easier time. And it's all based on what we're feeling out of what we're thinking. So, for instance, when you're having, when you finish a call with your mother and you felt this burden come down on you, that's an opportunity to start to think about, well, what are my thoughts as I'm talking to my mother? Because the emotions you're feeling are only a response to what you're thinking. They're not a response to what she's saying, because there's no way for her to get inside of your mind and twiddle those knobs. Have you ever noticed that, your mother can say something that can sort of send your world reeling, but a stranger who says the same thing, you don't feel a thing? It's because of the thoughts that we're believing about our mothers or our fathers or our husbands or whoever it is. It's not the thing that's said. It's only how we're thinking and interpreting what's being said. And oftentimes it's not even what's said. It's, their tone. She didn't have to say it that way. And when you think about it, what she said was actually accurate and true.
Yeah.
But, she didn't have to say it that way. Well, when she said it that way, what she was really saying is ... And we create it in our minds. She may not have meant any of the things that, were projected onto her. And when you talk to someone else who's looking at it dispassionately, they may be able to see, well, it's actually true, isn't it, what she said? I find that that's the case with me, Sometimes people will say things that I don't like, but what if I just take a moment to examine what they said? Almost all the time it's true. So why do I feel bad when they say it? It's because how I'm interpreting it, what I'm thinking about it. And it's usually because there's some self-judgment in me that I've already thought that same thing, and I don't like it. So when somebody else says it, how dare they?
Right.
And so we create our own stress. So what if we didn't do that? What if when we're having these conversations with people, we simply allow them to be who they are, and we listen for the truth in what they're saying. So let's say, for instance, Karen, are you still there? I see one person left us. I don't know if their line just hung up or whatever. Are you still there, Karen?
Oh, I'm still here. I had muted it because my son has been running in and out.
Oh, okay.
Talking to me.
I can look and see on my screen there that we're down one person. They may have had to go.
Okay.
Action went or something. So let's say you're in a conversation with your husband about money.
Right.
And your husband is saying, well, we're going to pay this electric bill, and let's say the electric bill costs $100. Oh, my God, the bank account's going to go down. Well, isn't that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's true. It's going to be $100 less than it was before you paid the bill. So in that, he said the absolute truth. But your emotional response is a whole completely different thing. It's about what you're thinking about what he's saying.
Right.
So what if instead of creating meanings behind what he's saying, you look at what he's saying to evaluate whether or not it's actually true? And the deeper meaning is that he's not actually talking about the money. He's talking about how he's feeling.
Right.
So if you can look beyond the actual subject and get a sense of the real subject that's being communicated, you realize he's not actually talking about money. He's talking about his fears, what he's afraid of.
Right. That's right.
And the fact that he's talking about it with you, that's intimacy, when you're able to bear how you're really feeling and thinking to another human being. That means that there is a sense in him that you're available to him in that way. Isn't that what you really want?
Right. To foster the connection like you were talking earlier.
Right. So you can transition your mind from, oh, this is a discussion about money, about the lack of money, to realizing that it's not. This is a way of being intimate and connected with each other. I'm telling you what I'm afraid of. And when we're telling someone what we're afraid of, what is it that we're really asking for? We're telling something, but we're actually asking for something.
Security or reassurance.
Love.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo. Oh. And all love is unqualified acceptance.
Yeah.
Meaning no judgment, simply accept it. Love is an emotion that causes us to draw towards something or to draw it towards us. It's an embracing and an accepting. Whereas other emotions like hate, anger, and all other negative emotions are emotions of wanting to push something away. So when we're talking about our fears with something, we're really asking to be brought closer and embraced and accepted. So you can sort of see in these conversations that what he's really doing is saying, I need to feel secure and loved. And because he's sharing it with you, he's wanting more of that from you. It's not really about the money. The money is just the trigger.
Right.
Man, I learned a lot from this conversation.
I cannot thank you enough.
Oh, my goodness. This is going to help me.
Always telling us what they need from us if we're willing to listen. They're always telling us what they need. Many times women will say, well, he's not being very communicative. He's not telling me what he's thinking. No, that's not true. Every human being is constantly telling us what they need from us if we can really hear it. It may be that the only way that they can ask for it is by talking about something that's irritating them. And in this case, it may be money. And in most marriages, it's money. It's around the idea of money. It's one of the number one reasons people get divorced, over money conflicts.
Right.
I mean, of course, there are others, but money is a big, huge one. Money and how you're going about getting it, and the fact that we don't have it, and when we're not really awake to what the other is really saying and asking for, we think it's about the money, so we get into a battle about money. So it's never about money. Remember, money is a spiritual reality. It simply facilitates the flow of goods and services. That's all it is. That's all it ever has been. That's all it ever will be. And it's just an idea. Excuse me. And when we attach to a physical representation of money in a negative way, then we're off balance.
The discussion. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, when you were discussing about money and the real reason, money is just an irritation or a symptom of something that, of them just wanting love, it made me think of why people go to war and all of these other different issues that are happening in the world is because of the lack of love. And it seems so simple, and I wish that it was something that was easily conveyed and offered. I don't know how, but, your words just, hit me so hard like that could be the answer to all the world's ills, but how do you convey that? How do you even begin to?
Just as we discussed, just as we talked about. It's easy to convey.
Yeah.
The thing is who's doing the conveying?
Right.
Are we going to be the person that sees behind the topic that's coming up to seeing what the real need is? Are we going to be the person that is fooled into the illusion that it's about the money or about the land or whatever it is that people are fighting over?
Mhm.
And it's okay either way. This is another thing that I think is a source of misunderstanding in these kinds of spiritual circles. Oftentimes you'll hear the phrase, which I agree with, that God is all there is. And then they go about talking about things that are not God. Well, if God is all there is, there can't be anything that is not a part of God.
Right.
And that's absolute. So anything that you can name is God.
Mhm.
If you can name a war, that too is God.
Right.
If the universe, God, whatever name we want to call it, the creative principle, the creative power, divine mind, whatever people want to call it, or call it nothing at all, it is simply expressing itself in infinite ways.
Right.
It has no judgment about those ways. It is simply experiencing all forms of itself. That includes what we call the negative and the positive. Now,
that's the way we experience it.
Right. We have a choice in what part of that creation we want to be. But God, the universe, has no judgment about any of it. So,
well, every day I say there's only one power, and then my husband shares the news of the day, and it is very challenging for me to just remain, no, that's non-power. There is only one power, that power is God. But, you walk out your front door and you're just challenged every 5 minutes by something that's going to say, look at this, and you have to come back to, no, there's only one power.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess
no
for me,
is non-power, is there?
Well, that is where I'm at now.
Power.
Right.
Then how can you think of anything or observe anything that is not that power? There isn't anything that isn't that power. Now, you're judging those things as not that power because you judge those things as negative, and you see God as
right.
And therefore those things can't be God. But if they exist, they must be a part of God, because there's only the one.
Yeah,
I
creator.
just walk you have you in my ear every day. I don't have people like you saying that. I'm trying to find those people.
Well, I think in some ways it's rare, because I do find myself that I have a slightly different philosophical view of things in the New Thought realm, because oftentimes we'll hear there's only one power and one presence, and it is good, blah, 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 blah. The reality is that there's neither good nor bad. It simply is.
Right.
Good and bad are human judgment.
Mm-hmm.
The universe doesn't care if you live to a ripe old age or if your life is cut short at 2 days old. It's not judging any of it. We do the judging. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to experience all of the negative things, all the things that we don't want. And the fact that we feel negative about something, our emotions are telling us something. Abraham Hicks says that our emotions are an emotional guidance system. When people are asking about the will of God, there's another way to really talk about the emotional guidance system. It's just an older language in talking about it. But it sort of obscures what we're really talking about, just as the language of vibration. People have never really been told, well, what is that that's vibrating, and what is it vibrating between, and what does all that mean? We've inherited a sort of language that really doesn't serve us, What is the will of God, or how do we know the will of God? Well, when you know that God is the I am presence within your own consciousness, the will of God is not something that's separate from your will.
Mm-hmm.
It is one and the same thing. So when people are asking about what is the will of God, I have to turn them back into themselves. What do you want? What you want is the will of God, because you, in essence, are an emanation of God, as we all are. God is within. The kingdom of heaven is within. If we want to know what the will of God is, we must turn within. And how do we know what that is? Pay attention to how you're feeling. The reason we feel good or bad in response to something that we're observing, which is really we're observing something and then we have a thought about it and we believe the thought and we have an emotion. The reason why the emotion is good or bad, so to speak, is it depends on whether we're in alignment or out of alignment with what we truly want. So if you look out into the world and let's say you see a certain thing happen and you have a thought about it and you have a negative emotional reaction, what that is telling you is that the thought that you're having as a result of observing that thing is out of alignment to what you truly want and need. And when you're having a positive emotion, it means that you're in alignment. A good example of how this works is I was responding to someone online about loneliness. In one of the Facebook groups, the Law of Attraction Facebook group, someone had posted a meme saying that the spiritual life, is a lonely life. As you shed negative vibrations, you can find the spiritual life is lonely. And I said, that's not true. If you're feeling lonely, you're not paying attention to your emotional guidance system. Mm-hmm. Because loneliness is simply an emotion that is a cue that you're not getting your social needs met. Go meet those needs. And the loneliness disappears. So when you understand emotions in this way, and you want to know what is the will of God for this, well, if you're feeling lonely, the will of God is for you to feel embraced and loved. If that wasn't in you, you couldn't feel lonely. The emotion
I have a question. Isn't that
about
sometimes
a need or desire that's either being met or not met? So when you're looking out into the world and you see, for instance, the event that just happened recently in Dallas, where Black Lives Matter were protesting, and then someone began to shoot at police officers, and we had negative emotions about that. What do you think those negative emotions was telling you about your innermost needs and desires in relation to that?
I think that because they were there trying to do something positive for such negative acts, because there was so much anger and negativity surrounding it, it emoted a vibration that begat more negativity. So it was a magnet for someone who used that platform to capitalize on the negativity that was already happening. Unfortunately, sometimes that happens. Like when Mother Teresa said she was invited to, anti-war rallies all the time, and she would turn them down and say, when you come up with a peace rally, I will attend.
Right.
So it's the intention behind it.
Yeah. And, many people, looking at this event, have very negative emotions, some fear, some sadness, lots of different negative emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, because most of us are not taught about what our emotions mean, we're not taught how to use our emotional guidance system. We simply sort of act out of those emotions by amplifying those negative emotions rather than understanding what they're telling us and then giving the appropriate response. So if looking at that particular situation, we feel fear. Fear is an emotion, is a protective emotion. Fear is telling us we see a threat to our safety, and is meant to move us away from danger. But what is really is the underlying desire there that's creating this overlay of negative emotion of, there's a threat. It's a desire for something. Mm-hmm. Fear is really a desire for a feeling of security and safety. So when we look out at a situation in the world and we have and we think of thought, oh my God, look what's happening, that could happen to me. And oftentimes our thoughts are at such a subconscious level and they happen so quickly we don't even recognize the thought. We go right to the emotion, not even realizing the thought that we had. Mm-hmm. And we feel this fear. Well, the fear is telling you that you have a need and innermost desire for a feeling of security that you are not giving yourself. And I say it that way on purpose, that you are not giving yourself. Because what we need, we're the only ones that can ever actually give it to us. And how do we do that? We sort of did an exercise earlier to do that. All you need to do is to begin to think about it. And automatically you begin to feel it. And that's the creative power of the mind. In Genesis, it says that in the beginning God created the heaven and earth, and all God did to create everything was simply to speak. And it was. That's the same process that happens with us every single nanosecond of the day. And the word is not, a physical word, English word. It's really talking about thought. The moment we think a thought that we believe, bam, the emotional reality comes into existence. Well, right in that second. And that's all we have to do is actually turn our attention to the thing that we want. So if it's a feeling of security, you can quiet your mind and begin to contemplate what does security feel like? What would it look like? Who would I be if I were a secure person? And suddenly we're feeling secure just by way of turning our attention to the idea of security. And that's the call of life to us, is to constantly go within and give ourselves the things that we want. And as we do that, those needs are fulfilled, and the world outside of us seems to change. The world outside of us actually isn't changing. It's our perception of the world that changes. But it seems so real to us that we'll look out in the world and the world will seem different to us. And suddenly we're recognizing that what we want, we've got. Our needs are met. The physical things we want appear, so forth. So when we're having those negative emotions, that's the time for us to stop and question, what is it that I'm really desiring in this moment that is out of alignment with what I really want or need? What is the need or the want that's there? And then once you identify that, then it becomes a matter of giving that to yourself. So whereas, for instance, Karen, with your husband, he's telling you his fears, and you've been having a certain emotional response to that. And I'm taking it from how you described it, but that response has been a negative feeling response to you. Hasn't been feeling good. So what is it that those emotions that you're telling you, that you're having, are telling you that you are wanting or needing in a situation that you haven't been giving yourself?
Yeah, it definitely comes back to me. I mean, haven't been loving myself. I've been in fear myself, even before he opens his mouth.
There you go. So
We've been together almost 30 years. So
your own feelings?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I don't want to, up until now, I have not wanted to really own that or admit that because that's not easy.
Yeah. We are projectors.
Yeah.
Our mind, we have something going on in our own consciousness, and we project it out into the world. You know, we say that sort of as a pop psychology sort of thing. Oh, well, that's just your projecting. You're projecting onto it. True. Everything that we see is nothing but a projection of our own consciousness.
Yeah.
In fact, the way we perceive everyone is a projection of how we actually are perceiving ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're finding that, you know, you're surrounded by people that don't love you and that don't care about you and that are argumentative, well guess who's the one that's actually unloving?
Oh, God.
You. Because you're projecting it out. It's just being reflected back to you.
Right.
And we are often so asleep to it, to who we're really being in the world, that we think it's the other person. We blame them. And like I said, you know, we all do this. We all do it. And we do it on the positive end and the negative end. You know, the opposite of paranoia, which is, you know, projecting negative things out there, is pronoia. And I love that term. You know, I'm becoming a more and more pronoid person every day, where I think that life is conspiring in my benefit.
That's good.
I love that.
And, you know, when you think that way, that becomes just as real to you as paranoia and a paranoid reality. It's just as real to you.
Yeah, well, the subconscious is so stupid, it will believe whatever.
Yeah. You just project
unfortunately, we usually use it negatively, but yeah, I like what you're saying, use it positively.
Yeah. Every moment we're projecting something. We're projecting, you know, our life is nothing but a screen, and our consciousness is the light, and the film that's being projected by the light are our thoughts and our beliefs. So our thoughts and beliefs is all we ever actually see. Our thoughts about other people, our thoughts about, we talk about money today, about money, about our relationship. They're all just our own thoughts and beliefs that are getting projected into our own lives. So, you know, you had a good realization there that your husband is really just reflecting back to you what you actually believe and feel.
Yeah.
So there's a few things going on. He's telling you what he's afraid of.
Right.
And it's a clue to what you're actually afraid of. And is it, wow, two people that are afraid together. Doesn't that make sense? Birds of a feather, you know, flock together, like attracts like.
Right.
So when we're looking out at someone and we are judging them negatively for something they're saying and doing, you know, watch out. Go within. Because we must be like them, or else they wouldn't be in our lives.
Yeah,
Only drawing things that are like our own vibration. So whatever he's saying or doing is an opportunity to go within and say, where am I afraid like he is? So that gives you some play to do, some spiritual play to do, to transform how you're thinking about money. You know, when we're unaware or not being conscious of how we're feeling about money, we then can't change it. So it's sort of, we're looking the other direction. So you can't change what you don't admit. Once we begin to admit, well, you know, I really am feeling, you know, lack. I really am feeling afraid. Then you can do something about it.
Man.
Thank you.
That just released my whole body right now when you said that.
I know.
Oh
Yeah,
my
so
God.
I just have to say my phone is gonna die soon, so I just if I drop off, that's why.
Okay, and we're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes. But just before we do, let's do some play together. I have some affirmations that I said I was going to share the money multiplier affirmation written by Reverend Ike, and so I'm going to share that with you. I'll say the whole thing to you, and then we will do some play with it. We will repeat it in a few different ways and go from there and sort of let it sink in. So here's a money multiplier. I see God multiplying all of the money that I use, all of the money that I give, and all of the money that I circulate in any way in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. And I'll read it again. I see God multiplying all of the money that I use, all of the money that I give, and all of the money that I circulate in any way in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. And if you could see me, you'd see me moving my arms sort of in a circle in front of me, moving out away from me and back to me in this cycle, this circle, this never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. Never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. And, when we're doing affirmations, the words aren't nearly as important as the feeling. So it's very important that we actually say affirmations with feeling and not just say them sort of something to say that, in this sort of meaningless way. So let's go with this. I'm going to say it phrase by phrase, and I want you to repeat it out loud after me. I see God multiplying all of the money that I use.
I see God multiplying
all
of the money that I use,
all of the money that I give,
all of the money that
all of the money that I give,
all of the money that I circulate in any way,
all of the money
all of the money that I
in any way,
in any
in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment.
in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment.
Now let's do that one more time. I see God multiplying all of the money that I use.
I see God multiplying all of the money that I use.
All of the money that I give.
All of the money that I give.
And all of the money that I circulate in any way.
And all of the money that I circulate in any way.
In a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment.
In a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment.
And I really, really love that last phrase. In a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment.
And a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment.
Yeah. Because, it's
Is that on your website by any chance?
I'll put it on the website. Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you.
This it's not just a circle where it just goes around and around. Life is really a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
We start at a point when we're born, and it goes around and around, but the circle gets bigger and bigger every time we go around. It really is a never-ending cycle. We often come around to the same issues and topics in life, just in a little slightly different way, because our life is really centered around a theme that we came here to explore. And we notice that over the course of our lives, we are always dealing with the same thing, but just in different ways. And money is the same thing. And we have the opportunity to experience it in a larger and larger, more expansive way. And it's not just about money. It's about anything that is of good in our life. So you can think about any of the good that you give of yourself in life, whether it's love or peace or inspiration or good words, that we are circulating these things out into the world in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. Money is just one of those ways. Now we're going to change that affirmation just a little bit. So I see God in me multiplying all of the money that I use, all of the money that I give, and all of the money that I circulate in any way in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. And the change there is from I see God multiplying to I see God in me. The third time I say this to myself, I change it a little more. I change it to I see God as me, multiplying all of the money that I use, all of the money that I give, and all of the money that I circulate in any way in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. And then I further change it one more time. I see me multiplying all of the money that I use, all of the money that I give, and all of the money that I circulate in any way in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. So if you can see the progression there, what we're really doing is transitioning from the old idea of God, this anthropomorphic thing out there sitting on the clouds with a beard and all of that, old idea, to bringing it home to where God really is. We transition from the God out there to me, to what I am. And that's how we bring manifestation into being. You know, there's a saying that God can only do for us what it can do through us.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not happening through us, it's not happening. Because we are God in expression. So we must transition from seeing God doing all the doing to seeing us as God doing the doing in our lives. So I see me multiplying all of the money that I use, all of the money that I give, and all of the money that I circulate in any way in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. And let's do another one.
Okay.
I am an excited participant in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. Say that one for me.
I am an excited
participant
in a never-ending increase in in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment.
Yes, I am an excited participant in a never-ending cycle of increase and enjoyment. We must participate in the cycle. This is not a game where we can sit by and be bystanders. We must be participants in life. Another affirmation that I really like is, I like money and money likes me. You know, money is a great friend.
Right.
And it loves you back. Reverend Ike used to say, money is really a woman. A woman, you say nasty things about her. You can be a mean so-and-so. But when you treat her lovingly, she will give of herself until there's nothing more to give.
This is true.
This is money. If we think about it in positive ways, embrace it and love it and appreciate it, it will grow and bless us. If we think about it in limited ways, in fear and lack, well, it'll punish us.
Yeah, this is true.
It'll punish us by running away. It'll find somebody else to make love to.
That's the story of my life.
Here's another one that I really like, and we'll wrap up. This is something that, one that hit me recently. Sometimes we hear ourselves saying the phrase, well, I live hand to mouth. I'm tired of living hand to mouth. So one good affirmation is, I move beyond living hand to mouth. I live from consciousness. And what the heck does that mean? Well, we know that money is only an idea and that it's with us or not based on how we're thinking and believing about it and being in the world. So we're never really living from hand to mouth. We're always living from our consciousness of money, whether it's good or bad. Whatever we believe about money is what we experience.
Mm-hmm.
We are living from consciousness, from our consciousness of money. And so then I go forward and saying, my consciousness is the source of my supply.
Mm.
That's from the older affirmation that we might have heard before, saying that God is the source of my supply.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when we say that?
We put the responsibility on an outward entity if we don't include ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. So that means money is always out there somewhere. And we're trying to get it from that, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
My consciousness is the source of my supply.
That just feels so good every time you say it. It's just like, wow. Wow.
My consciousness is the source of my supply. And when we realize that my consciousness is God, there's no conflict.
Right.
But oftentimes when we say the word God, because of our cultural baggage around that word,
Mm-hmm.
there seems to always be a feeling of this God that's out there that we need to pray to, or we need to find out its will, when the reality is it's right here, right now, it's in me, as me, it's not separate from me in any way whatsoever. It is me.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
My
And you, and you, and you, and you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's nowhere for us to seek. It's only here. It's me.
Mm-hmm.
It's you. Here's another one. And as you notice, these affirmations are not just something to repeat. They're really ideas to contemplate. I have more than enough money. I have a surplus of money. I have money in surplus. How does that hit you? Can you see how that's true?
Empowering, yes.
Yeah.
You know, you could, in one perspective, say, well, no, I don't have enough money. But right here in this moment, no matter how much money you have more than enough. How do I know that? Because right now in this moment, you don't need money. You only need money when you need money.
Mm-hmm.
This is true.
Right?
Yeah.
So when do you need money? You need money when it's being called for to use. So when you're in the grocery store to buy groceries, you need money.
Yeah.
You know, when you are ready to pay the power bill, you need money. But when you're not in the grocery store or paying the power bill or paying the rent or the mortgage or whatever, you don't need money.
Right.
And yet we carry around this idea of money so much when we don't need money in that moment. Money's just a tool. It's sort of like carrying a hammer everywhere. Do we sometimes need a hammer? Sure. When do we need it? When we're building something, when we need to, put some nails into something. You need a hammer. But would you take a hammer with you to the movies? No. You don't need a hammer at the movies. Would you get in bed with your boo and be like, oh, wait a minute, I got to go get the hammer. And take it to bed with you? No.
Time to go.
That's not when you need a hammer.
Thank you both so much.
To take a hammer to bed. But we take money to bed in our minds all the time.
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to say thank you and bye because my phone is about to go.
Oh, Karen, it was so wonderful speaking with you and meeting you.
Same here. And I will be with both of you. And thank you for making this available, Reverend Ben. I really appreciate it.
Yes, I appreciate it too.
If you want to hear the rest of the call, it'll be posted on the website on the Inspiration Stream page at.
Okay.
And we'll probably be on here about 5 minutes and close it down.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. You guys have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
So just a few more. Money-making ideas and opportunities come to me. Money-making ideas and opportunities come to me. I really like that "come to me" part.
Yes.
I really like that.
It's all about what we were trained up to do. There's two things that I realized I want more in my life, but I've always been told that I could not have them both at the same time. And, and it comes from my mom. It's like I started out wanting to be a singer. Then I got married and I had my son. And then I started, working in what they call the real world, in collections and customer service and sales. Then I did that for a period of time. Then I needed to switch to something else that I enjoyed more, which was massage therapy. And I've been doing that for 13 years. And now, the music has never left me. So I just kept praying and asking for, an idea or an event of synchronicities to come together for me that could lead me back into doing music, and it has come. Now I'm singing with 2 different bands, and it's overwhelming now trying to, maintain balance through singing with both bands, learning all this material, and doing the massage therapy business as well. And my mom is saying to me, well, you can't have a relationship and pursue, your dreams. And, my dad is like, well, I think you can have it all. But, my mom is the more dominant in terms of, putting her foot down and giving, you're going to listen to my advice type of thing. And so I think that has something that I've been struggling with for years, thinking, well, if I pursue this, then, I'm not going to be able to have the relationship I want. And as hard as I've been trying, saying, okay, well, I want this relationship. It's going to work out. It's going to be wonderful. Somehow I've been attracting guys who are extremely controlling and didn't want me to do anything. They just wanted me to be underneath them all the time, don't have a career, and I think that comes from that psyche that I'm going to have to untrain myself.
Yeah, and how you do that is you begin to get into a different feeling about it, which actually dovetails right into the last thing that I wanted to share, a little trick about affirmations. one of the things that people often find with affirmations is that as they say them, it feels like they're lying to themselves because they don't already believe it.
Right.
So you could say, I am rich and abundant and I have money in my wallet. When you look at your wallet, you have no money. You look at the bank account, and there's no money. And your
bank account is saying, you're a liar.
Right. You cannot fool yourself.
Right.
You cannot fool yourself. So if your feeling is, I can't have my career and the relationship, simply saying an affirmation is not going to help because
right.
you already know what you believe. And all that's going to happen when you begin to affirm the opposite is that just gets kicked right out. And you set yourself up for conflict, internal conflict. So here's a trick that I use. And since we're talking about money and circulation of money, I'll use that as an example.
Okay.
Can you see the difference between these two different ways of talking about money? I can say, I have lots of money. I have lots of money. I have lots of money. Or I can say, the feeling of money. The feeling of money. Or the money feeling. The money feeling. Can you see the
yes.
difference between I have lots of money and the feeling of money?
Mm-hmm.
One is making a statement, which gives the mind the opportunity to reject it or not.
Right.
The other isn't making a statement at all.
Yeah, because you can control how you feel.
Right. The second one is the feeling of money. It's not saying anything for the mind to reject or accept. All it is it's almost like a call to the emotion itself.
Yeah.
The feeling. And I don't know why I do this in the car. When I'm driving. For some reason, when I'm driving, my drive time is sort of like my prayer, affirmation, inner work time, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
And lately I've been saying the feeling of money. The feeling of money. The money feeling. And as I just say those few words, I find myself feeling it.
Yes.
The money has a feeling to it, There's a certain feeling that comes to having money, a certain feeling that comes to using it, a certain feeling that comes to, looking at large amounts of it. And just by saying the feeling of money, it's like I'm dropping myself right into the feeling without trying to say some statement to convince the mind of something.
Right.
So there isn't the opportunity for the mind to argue about the statement that I'm saying, because I'm not actually making a statement. I'm just keying on, literally, the feeling of money. So that's a trick that we can use with any emotion that we want to generate.
Right.
So let's say it's peace. Just even by just saying the word peace. Peace. Or the feeling of peace. The feeling of peace. Just by saying that, we drop our consciousness right into that feeling. Or excitement, The feeling of excitement. And you even find yourself, whatever the emotion is, you feel your voice matching that emotion that we're going for.
I can't stop smiling right now because
everything that you're saying is like really resonating. And I feel like it changed the whole mood of my body, you know.
That's what this call is for.
Yeah,
This is about
appreciate it.
Transformation. When people came to Jesus in the story of the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't see them in their disease.
Right.
He saw only their wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
Only their wholeness. He knew the feeling of that. And by his vibration, so strong that it overwhelmed their vibration of illness and disease and healed them. And this is how prayer works. So we can be an uplifting, inspiring presence for others by simply dropping our consciousness into the feeling of the good that is needed by that other person. And
so I'm going to ask your opinion on this. So maybe that's the reason, because I kid you not, over the past month or so, I am getting approached by men who, and I hate to say this, but, you know, who have hygiene problems or their teeth. It's like been a really bad issue. And you know, you're not quite sure if they have even a place to live. You know, if they're, I don't know what, I don't want to make the assumption, but that's just my perception of it. But I still give them the time to say their piece, whatever it is that they're thinking and saying. And I remember saying to myself, God, I just want somebody to love me, you know, inside and out, the way I would love someone else. And this man was talking to me yesterday, and his teeth were rotten, and he was, you know, not somebody that I would be interested in dating. But, you know, I listened to him and gave him the respect as a human being should. We should respect each other. And he says, you know, I just want to tell you that I love you inside and out. And I walked away from that, you know, crying, because I was like, wow, you know, it may not always come in the package that you expect, but obviously I needed to hear the words, and the love is there. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I just, you know, am particular about
you would like it to come
the
in the package with the man
yes.
with teeth that are not rotting.
Exactly. So I'm like, maybe this is for me to learn, because I've always had, you know, treat others the way you want to be treated, you know, respect others as you want to be respected, you know, give people the opportunity, listen to them, respect them, you know, and I've always done that. So I don't see myself having an issue with, you know, having to learn to see the whole person, because I've done that on many levels. But I'm like wondering why, you know, what this lesson is, or if that was just it, you know.
Well, life isn't trying to teach us lessons.
Okay.
That's one of those old ideas from this God outside of ourselves that's
right.
trying to get us to do some will of his, and we're disobedient. Life isn't teaching us any lessons.
Right.
No. Now, we can draw lessons from things, but life isn't trying to teach us lessons. Everything
right.
we get in response to the vibration that we're emitting.
Okay.
There's no lesson. It's only there because that vibration is active within you.
Mm-hmm.
I could hear that one of the vibrations that you're emitting is a vibration of obligation.
Yeah.
We should treat people in a certain way. Mm-hmm. Well, the only thing in the universe that ever has a should is us.
Right.
There are no shoulds. The shoulds are just imagination.
Okay.
That's all it is. We create a should. There is no should. You know, there really isn't.
Right.
The only thing there is choice and consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Choice and consequence. You choose to stop and listen or you don't.
Right.
And whatever happens out of that is a consequence. So what you're finding is that you've been choosing out of this sense of obligation that you have to speak to everyone that speaks to you, or that you have to listen to everyone. Well, the consequence is that you get people that take up your time that you really don't want to spend time with.
Oh, my God, you hit it right on the head. Because I'm sitting there thinking, save me.
You're saving yourself.
Exactly,
So
when I have the ability to do that myself.
Yeah. So maybe it's just time to drop the should, that you should stop to talk to everyone who talks to you, and either decide to talk to someone in a particular situation or not.
Right.
It's entirely up to you, and you can go in. Someone speaking is calling you to talk to you. You can quickly assess: do I want to stop or not?
Right. Mhm.
And the truth is you actually are not deciding. We never actually decide what we want. We simply want what we want. You discover what it is that you want or not. And in the moment that you discover that, then you can choose to align your actions with what you truly want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of obvious to me that this isn't something that you want because it's generating negative emotion. And negative emotion is always telling you that there's something going on that you don't want.
Right.
So since you don't really want to be stopping and talking to, a homeless-looking manager, stop doing it.
Okay.
It's easy.
Yes, it is, actually. It is.
It really is. I used to have a problem with attracting homeless people to ask me for money. And, of course, I didn't actually know if they were homeless or not. It was just my assumption.
Right.
Probably many of them were.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was walking with a group of friends down the street and they were someone on the street begging, guess who would be the person that they would look right at and come up to? It would always be me. Always. And I remember my ex saying to me, because I would say, well, why? I'm always getting accosted by people asking me for money on the street all the time. And sometimes it would be more than just asking me for money. I remember going to 7-Eleven one day, and I passed this woman at the corner, and she asked me if I had any money to spare. And I said no and kept going. And she starts to cuss, and you so-and-so, you got money, and you just don't want to effing give any to me, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, she just really went off. And it was like, what did I do? And I remember going home and saying, why are people always coming up to me and asking me for money on the street? This was annoying. And he said, well, it's because of your face. You have a friendly face. You always look open to conversation. And I was like, I'm just walking down the street. What do you mean? And he said, well, do you see them asking me? No, they ask you. Because you look like the friendly one.
Yes.
And I began to think about it. And I was like, oh, my God, he's right. He's right. And I started to realize part of my badness was I had this thing about looking through people. Because as a child, I felt ignored many times. I felt that I was invisible to people. I would be amongst a whole bunch of people, but I was going to be the odd one out. And I never wanted to do that to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to make somebody invisible. And so I would look at people and acknowledge their presence.
That's exactly
you
what
can go
I do.
from one extreme to the other. Because what that created for me was this sense of obligation that I need to be overly friendly and invite things into my experience that I didn't really want. So I had to learn, as I said it at the time anyway, this was the way I put it, I learned how to look through people.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I had to practice doing it. Eventually I got to the point where I understood that not responding to someone is not devaluing them.
Right.
It is just me going about my business. I'm not making any statement about whether this person is, has any dignity or whatever.
Right.
I'm just going about my business. And if I want to stop, I can. And if I don't want to stop, I cannot stop. It's not a big issue.
Yeah.
And I got creative with it sometimes. One time I was going, 7-Eleven is a big thing. I lived in California for most of my adult life until a few months ago when I moved to Aiken. And 7-Eleven is like huge in the city that I lived in Long Beach. So I often was going to 7-Eleven for stuff, So I was going to a different 7-Eleven, and there was this homeless guy.
Yeah.
And I looked over at him, and I knew in that split second, uh-oh, I looked at him, he's caught my eye, he's coming over to me. And sure enough, he came over to me, but I got creative. So as he got over to me, I opened my hand out to him, and I said, "Can I have a quarter?" And he said, "Oh, man, I was getting ready to ask you." And we both laughed. And I continued in the store.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Like deal.
When you tell the story of that, you knew exactly what I was feeling and why I was doing what I was doing, because of the same reasons. Growing up, and living in LA, you go to school and there are cliques, and you see how cruel kids can be to each other. They treat kids differently based on how they look, how they're dressed, and popularity, things like that. And, I was on the tightrope. It was like I was on the fence about it, because I was friends with a lot of popular kids, but I was also friends with people who weren't so popular, because I was able to relate to them, it seems, more, on an intellectual level. But then, wanting to be in talent shows and things like that, you're automatically in, the drama classes and things like that with all the popular kids, so you socialize together. But I hated, the differences and the teasing and the bullying and all of that other stuff. And my dad is one of those overly friendly people too, where homeless people would always ask him for rides or, money and things like that. And the same incident happened. A woman cursed him out for not giving her a ride to Crenshaw somewhere. I remember that. And, so as I got older, and it's like you learn to kind of become a chameleon, because you're taught, stay inside the lines. You need to assimilate. You need to do this in order to get along and to move up in the world and all of these different things. But I was never, ever really, happy doing those things. It was like I was just doing it because, in my mind, I'm like, well, treat people like you want to be treated. Treat people like you want to be treated. I want to be treated with kindness and respect, so I do the same thing. But then you invite all of this other stuff in without realizing it, and it's like, well, would I take up somebody's time if I didn't brush my teeth? Would I want to stand there and talk to them and annoy them? No, I am at least conscious of that, So it just became annoying. And then, even when I was getting on the dating websites, it was like guys with no shirts on, missing teeth. What the hell is this? I'm like, I know I'm not a vibrational match to this, so what is going on? But I began to expect it. I began to expect it. Okay, who is this toothless guy going to be now? You know what I mean? So
back to the toothless guy. There's something going on in your belief structure.
And I'm like, he's not smiling because he's toothless, Yeah. So it really traumatized me.
Perhaps it would be good for you to spend a few moments to just get into a quiet space and ask yourself, what does a toothless guy represent to me? Just ask yourself, and the answer will come. And just sit there until the answer comes.
Okay.
What does a toothless guy represent to me? And it does not have to make logical sense.
Right.
Because oftentimes our deepest held beliefs are not logical. They're simply emotional realities. When you look at it in the larger picture, it is logical when you start going down the rabbit hole and you start to understand how you came to that belief in the first place. But it's not really necessary to go through all of that. The one thing that I love about this spiritual work is it's not talk therapy.
Right.
This is about the recognition of the truth. And, of course, as it has been said before, the truth will set you free. It's the realization of truth that sets us free. So, the answer is already there. What does the toothless guy represent to me? The answer will come. And just pay attention to your emotions. Next time a toothless guy comes up to you, what is it that you're feeling? And that'll give you a clue as to what this sort of manifestation represents to you, what it means. And then you can start going, Now, another part of the truth of this is it doesn't matter what it represents to you. It's not what you want.
Right.
And you can have what you want.
Right.
So you can make an end run around all of this by identifying what it is that you want and simply begin to hold that in mind. What do
Oh, my God.
What do I want? What do I want? Now, you may need to do both of those things because, and sometimes people that follow Abraham Hicks and Law of Attraction teachings, sometimes they do a bit of spiritual bypassing. That term simply means that we're using spirituality as a way to turn a blind eye to things that we really do need to process in order to move forward in our lives.
Right.
Feel good, feel good, feel good. Just feel good, just feel good.
Right.
But even every spiritual teacher on the planet that I've ever come across anyway tells you that, life is here and things are happening, and we're going to have moments when things don't feel good.
That's right.
And that's the opportunity for us to discover what it is that we need and want, so that then we can do what it takes to feel good. So using spirituality as a way to just sort of bypass all of that doesn't really work, because whatever
it doesn't work.
For, it sticks around and it keeps showing up in many different ways. So, you may need to do both. You may need to sort of identify what this represents to you. And
well, you helped me.
When you realize it, then you might go, oh, my God, this is so stupid.
Well, as you were just talking to me right now, I kind of went inside and realized it is out of obligation and also a disbelief that I couldn't really have what I want because all of the men that I thought fit the profile of what I wanted somehow deceived or hurt me. That was the experience that I had. So I somehow thought, okay, that image is flawed. Guys that look like that were designed or built to hurt me. And the toothless guy loves me inside and out.
Mm.
I just thought of that just now, and I'm like, that is a flawed thought pattern, obviously. Because it would be a relationship that wouldn't exist.
And the toothless guy, like everything else, is a reflection of you.
Yes.
You said that, we should treat, other human beings the way we want to be treated, and love them, warts and all, paraphrasing my own words.
Mm-hmm.
So you are creating these men with warts and all.
Mm-hmm.
You fulfill the obligation to have to give attention to.
Right.
So there's something in you that feels damaged.
Mm-hmm.
Because why else would you want someone to love warts and all unless you felt that you had those things?
Right.
So because men really are reflections of how you feel about yourself. So you're getting a physical representation of how you feel about yourself and wanting someone to accept all of those things that you feel negatively about.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
my gosh. Love has to do with flaws anyway.
This is true. Oh, my God. Well, living out here in Orange County, it is, you feel like, a pink poodle, so to speak, when you're a black person, and dealing with, I am a very proud black woman. It's like I love myself. I think I'm a beautiful person inside and out, just the way the toothless man said. But however, we live in a world out here, especially in Orange County, when you're outnumbered, you're considered a minority. You're being shown images every day that you're not it. You're not beautiful. You have to be skinny and blonde and this and that, and I'm past that. I'm like 47 years old. I'm not even worried about the bikini body and all of those different things. However, I just want to be the best person that I can be inside and out. And
I would challenge you to question all of those thoughts.
Yeah.
Question all of those thoughts. Are you familiar with the work of Byron Katie?
No.
It's a really good tool to use. It's a form of self-inquiry, and it's and I know we've run over quite a bit with the time, but it's a set of 4 questions and turnarounds, and it really helps you to see the truth about what it is that you're thinking, because it's only our thoughts that are ever stressing us out. That's it.
And what was the name of the book again?
It's called The Work. And
The Work.
It's not a book. It's a tool of self-inquiry. You can go to thework.com and learn to do it yourself. There are videos of Byron Katie, and I know it's a weird name. Byron Katie is actually a woman. Who knows why her mother gave her the first name Byron, but you call her Katie by her. I guess that's her middle name.
Okay.
Byron Katie, and I'm not going to tell her full story. You can, listen to her videos online of that. Her major book that she's written is called Loving What Is.
Okay, Loving What Is.
And that's what the work helps us to do, is to love what is. Okay. Reality, life as it is, to actually love it, whatever shows up. And the 4 questions are really easy. It's, this is a process that I facilitate people through, and I find that it really helps people to, I hesitate to use these words, but the best way I could say it is to eliminate negative thought.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all find that when we're having strong negative thoughts, it's just impossible not to think them. You know?
Right.
Oh, stop thinking about that. I'm not going to think about that. I'm not going to. And all the while we're think about it, we're thinking about it. So it's like they have this grip on us, and negative thoughts, which are causing our stressful emotions, they only go away when you see the truth about them. And what you find when you begin to question them is that they're always lies. Always. And I tell people, test it out for yourself. It always turns out to be a lie, because that's what causes a negative feeling, is a lie that we're believing. The negative feeling is there to let us know that we're believing something that's not true.
Exactly.
So the first question is, let's say you have a thought. Let's say I'm thinking, I don't know, he doesn't like me. He said whatever he said because he doesn't like me. So I take this into the work, and I use this for questions. The first question is it true?
Okay.
The second question is, can I know for sure that this is true? The third question is, how do I react when I believe that thought? The last question is, who would I be without that thought? And the answer to the first two questions is only one syllable. It's either a yes or no.
Okay.
And what you'll find is that the mind will dance around. It'll try to justify what you're already thinking and believing. It'll try to explain. This isn't talk therapy. This is a meditative process where you're going within and you're asking yourself, okay, he said what he said because he doesn't like me. Is it true? And you sit there and you wait for your genuine answer, whatever it is, yes or no. If the answer is yes, you go to the second question. Can I know for sure? Can I absolutely know that this is true? That gives you a second chance to sort of sit with the question. If your answer is no, you skip the second question and you can move to the third question, which is, how do I react when I believe the thought? And that question is designed to give you an opportunity to see what happens to you when you think it. How are you feeling emotionally? Where do you feel that in your body? How do you behave towards others and towards yourself when you believe that thought? It brings you some awareness. And then the last question, who would I be without the thought, gives you an opportunity to examine your life in the same exact situation, but without thinking that thought. Who would you be? And that actually is the medicine, because once you know who you would be, then that's what there is for you to do to reach fulfillment. Be that person.
That's right. Be that person no matter what the circumstance.
Right. So I would question those thoughts that you're having about love, about men, and, are they true? Are they really true?
Yeah, it's not.
Is it true? In Orange County, it's really hard to be a black woman. Is it true?
No, it's not.
Is it true? Obviously not. You're living
lazy
there.
Excuses.
You're living there. It's not hard to live in Orange County. You're living there.
Yes, I am.
You're living there. All this stuff about, being, like you said, being a pink poodle and having to look a certain way. And have you noticed? Now, I've said this, I remember saying this to a boss of mine, a white woman, who is a fat woman, and, she has all these ideas about her body and about men and all this stuff. And I said, honey, you need to get yourself some fat black women friends. Because she might be 4 foot nothing and 600 pounds. And she'll put on those heels on a Friday night and go out to a club and get herself a man.
Yep.
You look around at reality, what you find are fat women with men.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Which goes to show you it's what is their belief and what it is inside. And it's so funny because for a while when I had stopped doing music and I had gotten into massage, I'm never nervous about doing a massage because I know I'm going to do a good job. I know I enjoy it. So, you know, before you do a massage, you're just like, oh, they're going to love this. And you do it. You're confident in it. You know, you learn the skill, and plus you put your feeling into it. So, and every time they always come out, oh, my God, that was the best massage I've ever had. It was wonderful and everything. Music, I feel like I want to throw up every time before I sing because it's a combination of excitement and hoping that other people will enjoy it and be just as excited about what you're about to do.
Yeah, you're in their business.
Yeah.
You're in their business. Doesn't matter whether they enjoy it or not.
That's true. That's true. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. I have to say that this has been the most enlightening, pleasant, and exciting and productive, you know, call or conversation, I should say, that I've had in many moons. And I appreciate you more than words can convey. And appreciate you being available to us to be able to shine light in the dark areas that we have either hidden by choice or chose to turn away from because of those teachings of just feel good, just feel good, just feel good.
Thank
so
you. And I appreciate being able to share. And make no mistake about it, it's all selfish.
Yes, it's okay.
Because it feels good to me to do. And it doesn't matter whether anybody agrees, whether they get anything out of it. And that releases me from all of that nervousness about, oh my God, what if, because I'm not in your business. I'm in my business.
Right.
I'm sharing what it is in me to share because it pleases me to do so.
Oh my God. You have
what I find is that when I am focused on what my heart really wants, other people automatically are benefited. And I never once have to consider how they feel about it or whether they will be benefited. I just focus on me and what I'm thinking and feeling, and does this feel good to me?
That's right.
And
it's beneficial to
out
you.
of that. You know, and your art can be the same way. You're doing it for the sheer pleasure of doing it.
Yes.
And to put it bluntly, who gives a fuck how anybody feels about it, whether they like it or not? And if they're going to pay to come see it, so it really doesn't matter. You've got the money.
Yep.
You enjoyed yourself using your instruments, and chances are they're going to pay to come see you again.
Yes. Oh my God.
Get out of their business worrying about what they're thinking. Your own business, you'll find yourself having more fun with it. And you'll have more fun. I used to, I've always done a lot of public speaking, and there was a time when I'd get that nervousness and everything before I speak. And now I just get up and just go at it because I'm not worrying about, well, what are they going to think? Am I saying the right words? Is my voice in the right inflection? And all of this stuff that has nothing to do with why I'm actually speaking. Speaking because there's something in me that wants to do it. So why am I focusing on what those people out there, well, they've come to hear me, so there's my answer to whether they like it or not. They're sitting here. And if they come back, They really like it. So why am I so concerned about whether or not they like it or not? Well, they're here, and they're waiting for me. Let's go out and have some fun.
Oh,
And you'll
my
find
God.
that your audience will pick up a completely different energy from you. You'll be connected with your audience in a way that you never have been before, because self-centeredness, see, there's only one of us here. It's God expressing as both of us. And we're really in ourselves, we're automatically connected with the other, because there's only one real self. Stay in your own business. Do it as pleases you.
Oh.
Stopping or not for the toothless guy on the street.
Well,
just to bring us back to that.
Well, I can tell you right now today that that's going to stop today. That stopped as of yesterday, because I tell you, I felt trapped. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
The toothless guy.
I want to stop for the Idris Elbas of the world, okay? That's what I want to stop for. But, I just have to tell you that message that he gave me was something else. I think I was meant to hear that because it was something that resonated within me. And it's also something that I can pass along. I know they use the word namaste to say the God in me recognizes the God in you, and to show appreciation culturally. And I will tell you what the man told me yesterday. Reverend Ben, I love you inside and out, and I appreciate you sharing yourself with us and having that good feeling that you feel be so contagious that we're able to emanate that same thing and hopefully use that to inspire, the people that we're going to touch from this point. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And so it is. I think that is a fitting affirmative prayer right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it is.
And so it is. And I will utilize these tools that you have shared with me today. And just know that I'm infinitely grateful. And I know that we will connect again on some level. I know that we will.
And I do these calls periodically, usually at least once a month. So just keep an eye out. They are posted on the website as well as I post them on Facebook and various groups that I'm in. So you'll see announcements for it. If you want, you can go to the website and send an email, and I'll send you event notices so that you'll know when the events are going to happen. And let's do this again. It's not always this long.
Right, I know. I know. I must have really
needed as long as it needs to go. Sometimes, it might be a half an hour. However long it needs to be in order for people to feel, complete.
Right.
It's good. I love this stuff because I could talk about it all day long. Me too. But, there comes a time where we have to live it out as well. It's good to talk about it. The whole point of us talking about it on these calls is really to get a realization about it in our life, because that is what brings change. An instantaneous change is possible. You will go from this call and you will have a whole different experience of the toothless guy. Because you've had some realizations about that.
I sure did. I'm already feeling super confident about the connections I'm going to have moving forward. I really do. I'm just like, oh, yeah, this was the truth that I needed to connect with. And no more wasting of the time with things that really I don't want to be bothered with. It's all about focusing on what we want and doing those things which are conducive or, advocates for what it is that we want or know that will make us feel good. So.
Yeah, and that man is coming, honey.
I know he is. And when he gets here, oh man.
He might already be in your circle and you just can't see him.
That's true. But you know what? When we do connect, oh, I can already feel it. You know, I'm feeling the happiness and the elation and the joy as if it's already happened in this moment. You know, I just sense it. I know that I can have it all. I know I can have it all. So, and that's why every time that statement was made, I would feel bad because I knew that that wasn't my truth. So.
We can meditate on something like the deliciousness of my lover.
Mm-hmm.
Listen.
Yes.
Into that feeling and just see what shows up.
Yeah, now I'm blushing. Yeah, he's awesome.
Get that feeling. And when you're feeling that deliciousness, or you're feeling your own deliciousness,
yeah,
that's a very attractive thing.
Yes, indeed.
You know, and it's telling that we even use that word when it comes to relationships, being attractive. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but we've been talking about law of attraction way before that term even, you know, was in our consciousness. We were still even talking about it without knowing that's what we're talking about. You know, whatever that we're feeling ourselves is going out, and others are picking it up. And those who are in harmony with that in some way, bam, they come into our experience. And because they're already there, it's just like the sun. The sun is always shining every single day. The clouds do not change the reality of the sun shining.
Right.
The clouds are just there, and the clouds are just our own thoughts and beliefs that keep us from seeing the good that is actually present already in our life. I've heard so many stories about people talking about they met their husband or wife or girlfriend or person, and they didn't realize that they actually knew the person or they were in the same circle. Well, for some reason, for several years, they just never connect. Well, the reason is you are a vibrational match. You can only ever see and experience what you're a vibrational match to. So even though it's right in front of your face, it can be completely invisible to you.
This is true.
Well, that feeling of the deliciousness of your lover.
Yes. Oh, that word.
Start to manifest more and more deliciousness through lovers. And just enjoy, you know, he might not be the first one that comes or the second one, but you know, every one of them can be delicious.
That's okay. I'm not one to discriminate. I would like to have the experience of deliciousness, you know?
Yeah.
And until I get it right, that's fine.
Full mouth of teeth.
Yes, full mouth of teeth, smell clean and good, and be taller than me. that would just put me over the moon. But
well, it'll be
it'll
be so completely funny if you end up with somebody who has a full mouth of dentures. Well, he's got two. And they look good.
Right. I was going to say, be careful what you ask for. This is like saying, I want world peace, but you're the only one left in the world.
Oh, you're right. Oh, man. Well, on that note, I am going to say goodbye. I wish you a great, great rest of your day. I have a great day, rest of the day planned for me. Awesome. One of the things I'm doing is I'm injecting more fun into my life. So tonight, I am getting together with a meetup group, just a social group. We're going out for dinner and having a great time. All because I started, because I moved here to Aiken, and this is a smaller town. There's only about 30,000 people here. You know, we're in the conservative Deep South, and I had all these measurements about what all that meant. And I wasn't connecting with people. So I felt and I'm lonely. So I knew
Yeah.
that meant that I wasn't meeting my social needs. So I started to ask myself, what is it that I really want? And it was connection. And so I just started connection, feeling of connection. What does connection feel like? What would that be like? And so I began to look for connection all around me, on a daily basis. And so whenever I would notice any kind of connection with people, I would just take a moment to consciously be aware of it and appreciate it. So if it was a moment at the grocery store, I remember being at Walmart, and the cashier was doing her thing and checking me out, and I don't even remember what the conversation was, but we laughed and we had a good time for those few moments that I was with this cashier. And as I walked away, I realized that was a connection. I just took a moment to be consciously aware of the connection.
Yeah.
So I began to look for the things that I wanted. And before long, I started seeing it everywhere. I am connected. I am connected. Same thing with abundance. Start looking for abundance everywhere. So that's a good exercise that I teach people. Begin to look for the thing that you really want and acknowledge it when it shows up. And before long, that's all you see. So recognize, the deliciousness of potential lovers whenever it shows up. Maybe, a good-looking guy smiles at you, on the way to work, or, some guy flirts with you, or whatever. Just take a moment to consciously be aware. That feels good.
I often make that sound. I'm like,
Yeah. That feels good. Oh, I like that connection. That's delicious. And you'll find that you'll have more and more and more experiences of that, because that's the vibration that you're keying in more and more too. So take more time to notice that and less time to notice Mr. Toothless.
Right. Thank you, my dear. Thank you. And let me write down your website, because I am definitely going to go to it.
Okay.
What is it?
It's real easy. It's cathedraloflight.us.
.us? Okay. All right. That's fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic.
So good to meet you from afar.
Yes, good to meet you.
Perhaps
Good
when
to
I'm back
meet
in
you.
California, we'll meet or something.
Absolutely. You please let me know. I will send you my email and Facebook page and all of that. And whenever you come out this way, I would be more over the moon to meet you and go out and break bread with you.
Yeah.
And revisit your old stomping grounds, and there's plenty to do here.
Interesting to see how it all feels to me, being a different me now. All right. Well, you have a great day, and we'll talk again.
You too, Reverend Ben. I called you Dr. Ben. Reverend Ben.
I'll take that too.
Yes.
Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.